How you doing, Miss Darkest?
I am well. What's going on, Dr. Q? Dr. Q, Dr. Q.
Doing it. We putting it together. We're putting some paint where it ain't tonight.
All right. I like that. I'm taking that one.
Yeah, I got to give credit to my really good friend Donchez. He used to coach at Morgan State, and he would always call me. I said, Donchez, what's going on, brother? I'm well, man. I'm putting some paint where it ain't, and so uh, I had to tell him I stole that from him, so I can't take credit for it. I can't take credit for it.
I love that. I love that. You know what? Shout out to all. I know your wife celebrated a birthday.
She did. She celebrated her 60th birthday today. No, I'm just kidding. My wife celebrated yesterday her she looking at me crazy. She behind me. She celebrated her 43rd birthday. She's
All right.
43 years young, and so she's uh she's definitely getting better with age. Uh
See, that's all right.
you know, she might not tell you that because her body, she says she need to get a new model, but at the end of the day, I think we all, as we get older, our body starts to do things. Each birthday, your body's gonna do something different to you as you get
Abs-
older.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. We have,
yeah.
but that's all. Look, that's all right. That's all right. Y'all, you know what? Everybody. Welcome to Beauty for Ashes, the journey,
Welcome,
y'all. Welcome
welcome.
on in here. We in here. We just, this is a conversation tonight. We just in here kicking it, but we got a surprise tonight, y'all.
Yeah, we do.
Let's
We
go.
we are. Would you say we're finishing up our our
On
series,
so
or
our
we're
series, this series, this is part two. We're
part
going
two?
to do four parts. So there are four parts to this series.
Part
Um,
two.
the firstborn. So this is we're part two. So we did the intro, then we did part one. Now we got part two. Then we'll do three and four, and then we're gonna wrap up the firstborn.
Firstborn. So
Mhm.
tonight we're talking about when responsibility becomes your identity. And so, for those firstborn children out there, uh, this is for you tonight. When we talk about childhood wounds, we talk about leadership, we talk about healing, we talk about setting you free through the responsibility that became your identity. And some of those took on the identity, darkest, by choice, and then a lot of us took on the identity by force. So
Right.
we're gonna discuss that, and we want to. s- Is it okay if we got any other things that we need to address before we step right into this, or we jumping dead in?
What you say, dead end. So let's do this. Let's if always invite in the Holy Spirit.
Yes, yes,
Let's
yes.
I'll cover what we'll cover ourselves in prayer.
Go ahead.
Father God, tonight we create space for truth, healing, and revelation. We pray for every person crying invisible pressure, that they, if they're carrying any invisible pressure, every person who learned survival before identity, remove shame tonight, remove guilt tonight, remove the fear that says they must earn love through
Yes,
performance.
yes.
Help us, Jesus. Heal the exhausted leaders, heal the hyper independent hearts, heal the people who never felt safe enough to need help. And let tonight be the beginning of freedom in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Hey, come on.
Gotta
All
clap on
right.
that one. Gotta clap on that one.
All
So
right. I love it. I love it.
yeah, so as we opening this up, thank you, Darkest, for the prayer. And so we'll say this with this opening phrase. Some of our firstborn children never got a chance to discover who they were because they were so busy becoming who others needed them to be. And so as I want you to pause and think. Today we are diving into something deeply personal for some people, deeply emotional for some people, and deeply cultural. for others. The burden of many firstborn children carry on, and how the responsibilities slowly become their identity. And again, like we said earlier, some of that is by choice and some of that was by force. And so we want to cover and walk into that tonight. Um, and so as I do, because I'm a firstborn, even though I'm
Okay.
6 minutes older, I'm the firstborn, and um, so some of these things are really a little personal, but then some of these things are
Yeah.
also through this discussion will be for some people. Let's say we're creating awareness, healing, emotional honesty, opening up and being honest with ourselves, and then an understanding the understanding of the silent role that some of us
Yes.
play and that we have in this, and that we were assigned to again by choice or by force. And so we want to walk into that tonight, and we want to hopefully we can help some people understand some things and uncover
Mhm.
and discover and be open with themselves in that.
Yes, absolutely. And some firstborns stop being children emotionally very early. And then they became the helper, the peacemaker, the protector, the second parent, the emotional shock absorber.
Hmm. Hmm. Well, in so with that, you say a lot of our firstborn children don't grow up being asked, "What do you want to become?" They grow up being asked. They grew up, "Help me," "Watch your brother," "Be mature," "Handle this," "You should know better." Well, what I mean,
Ooh,
wh- how am I supposed to know better? On something that I'm still learning, and so they stop being children emotionally.
ooh, yes,
So
absolutely.
you know, we, yeah, and it's a powerful thing, but this is what we're going to discuss tonight, and so we want to set the uh, foundation, the emotional foundation. Uh,
Okay.
Talk about how families unintentionally assign these identities, assign these roles. And when we look back at our parents, and I hear my aunts, and I hear, and my dad was one of 12, and I
Oh,
hear my
wow.
aunts, and I hear my uncles, and the responsibility that they had to carry, as young people. And you hear the older generation is where they pretty much raised their brothers and their sisters. And so, in that, you hear that you have to be the strong one, the smart one, the quiet one, you have the problem child, you have the caretaker. Everybody has a role, you know, and in that, when I say and I think about me and my twin brother, um, we had a role, and his role was, his identity was he was always into something, and my parents were
Mm,
always rescuing him, and so I saw that, and I felt like my role was to be at least the responsible and one that they could be proud of, because they're fighting on this end of always doing things, and then on this end, I didn't want them to have to worry. But it's so crazy how even in that respect, Miss D, th- how people take in and they see things their own way. And so, for example, my twin felt like that my parents favored me.
mm,
That they favored me. Oh, they love you more because you they favorite child. But from my perspective, I felt like they favored him because they were always with him. It was because they was always dealing with some drama with him, whether going to court, whether jail, whether it was always something. And I felt like I never got that attention because if I was I'm getting an award, but they could never come to anything that I do, and that still happens to this day. You know,
mm.
um, so I, my mom is passed, but you My dad haven't he didn't show up to a lot of things, you know, whether by choice or by force. I mean, I don't know because we all have our lives to live. But again, from the perspective, and I'm only speaking from my perspective. I can't speak from somebody else.
Right.
Speak from my perspective, and even to our parents, even though they might not like it or want it, or our families, I can only speak to my family from my perspective. I can't speak it from my uncles, my aunts, my cousins, and my brothers. I can only speak it from mine. But it gets real, and
Oh yeah.
the role that protected you in childhood may be the very thing suffocating you in adulthood. So,
Mm.
you know, I had to get over some of those things. You know what I'm saying? So that I could function in adulthood, because you're holding all that stuff in. Again, you can't hold that stuff in. You can't
Mm-mm.
hold it in. You gotta let it go, and um, you gotta let God be God, and people, and you gotta let people be people. Like they're gonna be who they're gonna be, and when you get to a certain point in life and age, um, then it, I mean, you gotta kind of let a lot of those things go. And that's easier said than done.
Yeah.
Way easier said than done. It's easy to say, but it's hard to do. Um, but you have to do some things that, you know, make you understand that you have to back away and heal in those areas. Um, because or you'll drive yourself crazy trying
Ooh, for
trying,
real.
trying to fix it. Uh, trying to fix it.
Right. Welcome in the room, Tasha family. Welcome in the room, sis. Come on in. Come on in, girl. You know what? When you know what I thought about while you were talking, Dr. Q, is that also not only does responsibility become our identity in those areas, but also survival.
Mm, yeah,
We get to a place of, I don't know if you've experienced this, but you're living in a place of survival unknowingly
yeah, yeah.
and not even aware that you're in a place of survival, but it's what it has become a coping mechanism,
Mechanism.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I don't know if I've experienced that or say I have experienced it, but I do understand what you're saying, and can process and understand that. But um, I feel like, in a sense, that, you know, the way you say that, I feel like when Zach lost Mama, which was the last, I feel like that was when he felt kind of in that mode. 'Cause at that point, he went from the oldest to the only, you know,
Yeah,
and
right.
and and so I felt like I feel like for me, he felt like I feel like he jumped into that kind of firstborn, because he felt like, you know, he was my, you know, he was mine, and so big brother, and he had to protect and watch and stuff, and so I think we can speak on the other hand too, that those things can happen due to losses in the family matriarch. When things start to leave, and people start to go, and people who've taken on responsibilities are gone, and so I mean, I think a lot of that has a lot to do with some of it that we don't even think about, and we take on some of those things maybe late in life, when we thought we were healing, but then, those things happen, and you become, you know the backup parent, or you become you know it just, you know uh the younger sibling, in some regards, but it's just the dynamics of some things as well, that I think could put you in survival mode, if you say that, like, well, the way you say it like that.
Absolutely. And then not only that too, like what you mentioned too brought back to mind that it shifts. The role of the firstborn does shift. So
Hmm.
like if that oldest child does not have the capacity to hold that weight of that calling, of that office,
Yeah.
it passes on to the next child.
Hmm. Mm-hmm.
So like, and then that becomes, of course, a spiritual thing. So when it passes on, it keeps passing on until someone has the capacity and is able to carry the mantle of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yes.
I could see that. I could see that. I could see that. Um, so when we talk about um that oldest child, um, some of the things that what are some, well, some of the, I would say some of the characteristics of that oldest child for someone who is out there, I would
Ooh,
say would be the protector,
yes.
the translator,
Right.
the emotional regulator at times, the peacekeeper,
Yes.
the achiever,
Yes.
and I say that because, you know, at one point I felt like I was the protector, and I had to protect them, and so I would go out of my way to be like, hey man, you are getting into some things I don't know, and then the translator, I would try to translate some of these things to my parents of what I felt and saw coming, and then, the emotional regulator, like I was the calm one. I was just telling my wife the other day, and my wife is the youngest. She's got an older brother, and I was and they battled, and so she pretty much took the mantle of the oldest child. So we kind of funny. We talking about some of this stuff, and I was talking about some of the things that I took, like that I took, growing up, and as we were sitting there, I was like, damn, I took some, like, just get beat up for no reason, and nobody would do nothing. You
Mm.
know, I was telling my wife, one day we was in the bathroom, and I opened the door, and he yells, and it yells at me, and then he goes, "You didn't clean the tub," and I'm like, I obviously cleaned the tub. Well, there was a little piece of hair in the tub, so he goes and tells my mom, and my mom's like, "The tub is clean." So he goes, she goes back down, and I walk around the corner, and he just cocks me in my mouth,
Ooh.
and I'm bleeding everywhere. My grandmother comes, and it just you know that emotional regulator, and I'm just like, he didn't even get in trouble for that, but I I get in trouble if I go whoop his tail.
Oh.
And there were times where I snapped, and I snapped, and I go whoop it, like, but for me it was hard for me to engage that way with my family, because I was the peacekeeper, like I was trying to hold the peace and keep, you know, um, and so you look at those things, and you don't realize how much they have an effect on you until you go back, but then you watch them, and it makes you turn into something a little bit different, which,
Oh yeah.
and it could go both ways. It could go good or it could go bad. And I think for me, that experience made me want to be more good than bad, because I could have done a lot of evil things in that, or revengeful or vindictive things, and I did my little fair share. If I'm gonna be real, I let him get
Right.
beat up. I let him get beat up by a group of dudes one time, and he jump in and got my butt tore up for it. But you know, there are some things that you learn in leadership before they learn safety, and it's like I feel like I learned the leadership part of it. Like I have to lead in a certain way before I learned the safety part of it, and that safety was protecting, my emotions and my feelings and stuff. But I was like, okay, how do I navigate this? Because I always felt like if he got in trouble, if he did something, I'm the one that got in trouble. So I think it kept me in a leadership role,
Hmm.
because I'm like, all right, when he gets in trouble, so he got caught stealing, and I had to be the one to call my mom and dad and say, he's I took the responsibility. I'm like, I don't know what happened, but they're going downtown, and so we get them. but I get chewed out the whole way home. I got the butt whooping. He got sent to the room. I'm like, I'm not the one that even stole. I'm like, Mama, I'm not. I'm not the one that stole. She's like, but you're the oldest. You're the responsible one. So those are the things that we had that we're taking on in those roles as the firstborn, and how do we get through those things? How do we embrace those? And for some of us, we're in it now as adults. Some of you might be in it as teenagers right now, and some of you, I mean, if they're listening, but at the same time, we're in those roles, and those roles are going to be constantly evolving for the rest of our lives if we don't process them, and understand who we are in those roles. And that's what we're talking about tonight. Who are we in those roles, and how do we heal, and how do
Yes.
we grow from that? But Darkest, I do have this question
Okay.
um for you, and then even for our listeners. When did you first feel the responsibility for other people's emotions?
Oh, that's a
And
good question.
and I would say that because we have to take that. That is one of the things with our brothers, sisters. That's when we first take on a responsibility, feeling that responsibility for someone else's emotion. And so when was that for you?
It was very early. It was real early. And in that, I learned avoidance.
Mm,
Just in just to keep the peace, just to keep from hurting, because I didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings, and I didn't want any arguments popping off. I'm like, okay, well, you just hold it all in. You
mm,
just keep it all in. So that was my way of regulating the emotions, but of course it was unhealthy, and I know that now. But that was the tool that I chose to use, and it happened very early. I
mm,
can say even I'll go to even like 10 years old.
mm, mm. Okay, yeah, because
I, yeah.
yeah, because and I asked that question is because you know, I get- I had to really think about it. Like I'm like, okay, when did I do this? Because there was a shift for me. There was a shift because I remember um when I was younger, and I think this is when I took on the the role, and because I didn't understand, my mom would always give because they said I was happy go lucky. I was so happy go lucky. I talk to
Right.
anybody. I go up to a stranger. They say, "Boy, you gonna get kidnapped," and so I remember um we used to walk up to the store. My mom would let me and my and this was back in the day where you could let your kids do this stuff. But me and Lorraine
Right.
would walk to the store. My mom would give us some money. She's like, with a note, go get her a pack of cigarettes. Bring her change back. So we walked to the store, and my mama always tell Lorraine, would give Lorraine the responsibility. And so one day I asked, I was like, you know, wha- and then Lorraine, so in that, Lorraine would get to keep the 50 cents that was extra. It was about 56 cents. It was extra. So he gets to keep it. Well, I didn't get it. But I'm like, I'm walking just like he's walking. And I'm going to the store just like he going to the store. But I don't get no change. And so I asked my mom, she said, because you're not responsible because you won't you won't bring the change back. So it'll be about, well, depending on what she gave us, but he would get some change back. So that was what I remember when I said, okay, I'm like, and I told her, I said, Mama, I'm the oldest, right? And she said, yes. And I think that's when, I took on that emotion to be the elder. And it seemed like from that day, I've been the elder. I took the
Mm.
role. I took the responsibility. I took the emotion. I took and from that day, I've been the oldest, which is I had to go back and think about that in that regard. And we might have been 7 or 8,
Oh,
at the time.
okay.
and
Yeah.
and so and maybe younger, but yeah. And so, that, when I think about that, when I go back and I think about that, how that moment basically cultivated two different people,
Mm.
right? And so, but prior to that, my brother he felt like he was the oldest, and prior to that, I look back and say, okay, would it had changed the direction or the trajectory of his life, from his life that he has now, all the things he's been through, from mental health through incarceration, all the things, to would it have been different if he felt that he was in that role? If you see what I'm saying?
Right, right.
If he would have emotionally taken on that, or kept it, and stay that leader, in some regards. um you know you think about, because what I think about, you know in my notes I have here, some powerful insight. Many firstborn children were praised for, and I just said, what? Responsibility,
Mm-hmm.
maturity, and discipline.
Yes. Yes.
you know
Yes.
and
And
so,
which is, yeah, which causes them to be hyper independent later on.
hmm
Yeah. So then they're difficulty asking for help, feeling guilty resting. You feel like you always have to be doing something, feeling responsible for everyone's emotions, like you mentioned, always preparing for disaster, feeling unsafe, dependent on people. And you mentioned roles earlier. And so, like, one thing about it, how I know you're familiar with this, like the scapegoat, the enabler,
hmm
all of those different roles. And when you fall into the enabler or the scapegoat, that's even more pressure.
hmm hmm
Yeah.
yeah. And so, as we're being somewhat praised, and we can say this sometimes now, somewhat being praised for maturity, responsibility, and discipline. Internally internally these people might be anxious, like you said, overwhelmed, and emotionally low. And so
Absolutely.
people are praising and applauding this performance of maturity, responsibility, and discipline, while the person underneath is quietly just drowning in anxiety, being overwhelmed, and emotionally lonely. And and you can I can agree with the emotionally lonely part sometimes. Like, you just like, man, you know. But I feel like we we u- we use this understanding and this feeling. I think sometimes we can use it um as a crutch for us to be still, and not move, or and what so much not, let me say, not the word still, excuse, because we let me just
Excuse.
as an excuse.
Mm-hmm.
And we can't allow those things to be an excuse for what, I mean, really honestly, our family needs us to take that role, and be who we're supposed to be in that role. Even though even though we are overwhelmed, we feel those things, but let's go spiritually. God has called us to that role, and he wouldn't give us something that he has not qualified us for,
Come on. Come on.
right?
Come on. This is a good time right here to also interject the role of this same role that falls on the only child.
Yes.
Yes. So you have only children who fall, they're heavily isolated. They are not open to receiving people freely, trust issues, and it's all stemming from their experiences growing up and
hmm
carrying that weight and responsibility and not fully understanding it.
Yeah. well, and so with that, that idea that you just framed out from that firstborn and only, because that they're the same person,
Right.
you know, in a sense. So what they learned, and I can agree with some of this. My value is in what I provide.
Yes.
Love must be earned. I
Yes.
cannot fall apart. I mean, I feel like I had to keep it all together. Others need to come first. I
Mm-hmm.
don't come first,
Right.
and rest equals laziness. So I can't be those things, and so we we see those things. We see those things um in it, but also like someone just put. I think about having some discussions with some of my aunts, and you know, and we could go from that firstborn, the only child, and sometimes I think people don't realize that middle child is the only child sometimes as well, because that middle child falls in the middle, and everything else is circled around, and you might have the sick child in your family. You might have the sick child. Well, who gets all the attention? And then that the oldest child is the oldest, so they run and stuff, so they have that responsibility. And then the middle child is left there, like Malcolm in the middle. He's just there,
Right.
and they feel some of these anxieties and overwhelm, and also feel some of the things that like no one sees me. Like I have no value,
Ooh, that's good.
you know,
That's
and
good.
so
And then these behaviors and these characteristics have were normalized.
yes, 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 and and we yeah normalize, but also it's sad as you get into age, you see them, and I'm going by experience, and I'm not trying to put my family out, but you see it still happening, even in
Yes.
older age. You see it still happening, like, and you have people in family positions that have so much to give, so much value, but because of where they're at in their family and what they've been viewed as, nobody listens to them. Nobody
Right.
gives them the time of day. Nobody gives them the respect that they deserve. Nobody understand, like, and it's crazy because you know when you see what they bring to the table, it you just you just absolutely like, what in the world are y'all looking at? Like, do y'all not understand what this person brings and to the family, to a person? So I take advantage of all of it. Like, I mean, I just I gain as much wisdom from them as I can because it's just such a blessing. But you know, it just it's kind of it's just kind of crazy, and it could go so much deeper. And I'm trying to be very surface because I'm not trying to put my family out there, but at the same time, it I'm seeing this from not my perspective as an oldest twin, and then I'm one of seven. Um, and the perspective of a family that is so big, and I have so many cousins, and and then aunts that I'm close to, and the dynamic of our family of 1 of 12, and then my mom was the only child, so there's so many things I'm gleaming things from that are hitting me right now that I'm like, oh man, but it
Right.
is absolutely, um, it's absolutely interesting, but it's also sad because there's so many, I think, missing the boat in their opportunity in their family to play a role that they can absolutely change them.
Absolutely. And like you mentioned earlier, Dr. Q, this is not about pointing the fingers or bashing anybody because gone are the days of blaming anybody. Like, it's not about, tonight is not about blaming parents. It's not about how you can honor what your family survived without normalizing what hurt you. It is about like being truthful, and like what's buried so deep in our culture is what happens in this house stays in this house.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of things that have not been able to be healed because of it, because of the secretiveness, the secrets, the not willing to talk about things because of pride and ego and embarrassment and shame, when none of us have any room to judge anybody. Like, we are all a work in progress. And the more that we have the ability, I'll say the courage, because it takes courage to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
It takes courage to stand 10 toes down and say, you know what? I don't have it all together.
Mm-hmm.
I make it look easy, but it's not. Like, I'm drowning,
Mm-hmm.
honestly. Like, and I really need some help. I need help. I've
Yeah.
carried this for so long and I'm tired.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want you to see me. See the me, not the me that you envision me to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not a superhero. I don't have a cape. I know I always show up. Yeah, we had that firstborn and them only children. It's the performance side of it,
Mm-hmm.
to
Yeah.
transactional love.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Feeling like the more I do, then I'll be loved. I'll be seen.
yeah,
I'll be heard.
yeah, yeah, and then the more you do, the more they expect because that's what you're supposed to do because that's what they think you're supposed to do because that's what you do, and
Right. Exactly.
you know, so it's like, well, that's what you do. So it's and nobody appreciates it. And here's the healing part. Um, here's the healing part in the sense that if you're one of those people that are not the firstborn or you have somebody in your family, here's how you help them heal. And this is how they can grow out of some of this. Thank you. I appreciate you for who you are and what you're doing for the family. Thank you. That's all they want. Literally, that's all they
Right.
want. Thank you. I saw that. I appreciate it. I love you. Thank you. It is, I mean, it really is that simple.
Exactly. Exactly.
I mean, it really is that simple. I called one of my aunts and she my ride or die. A- Ain't Tanya. I'm just gonna call out. Ain't Tanya. Like, and I think all the nieces and nephews feel this way, but she ride or die. Like, and 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 I just love her because she's so open and honest, and she don't sugarcoat it. She gives you wisdom. She gives you love. She's there, like she's there at everything, and and when I was going through my situation with my cancer scare, bam, right there, just right there with all my aunts. My aunts all showed up strong. Like, I tell people all the time, like, black women are the backbones of our black society. Like, they are what keeps the skeleton of this black community up. And because they were there, like they were there. And I sat there and I just had a caller one weekend a couple weeks ago and just say, hey, Tanya, I love you so much. I see everything that you're doing. I appreciate you. And I told her, I said, I'm telling you this, because she don't have kids. I'm like, you don't ever have to
Mm,
worry. When you ready, I got you.
right.
You will live with us. I will take care of you like you my mother, like I would my mother. I got you. I got you. And and I called her out of the blue and told her that, like, just out of the blue, because that's what God put on my heart. But I
Yeah.
just needed her to know, like, I see you. I thank you. Like, you're not invisible to me.
Right.
And that's all that a person needs. and so um as we go through the process of healing that firstborn, you know, sometimes it's just firstborn or that middle child or anybody that's taking on that role. It just they just need a little acknowledgement and just a little love and that thank you. I love you. I see you like that. It get. I mean, sometimes we want to make we want to make it harder than what it is, and sometimes it's just that simple.
Right, it is. And be careful when you are in a place where you feel like, okay, when you're known for what you do. So like sometimes firstborn only children and the ones who hold that office become addicted to usefulness because usefulness felt safer than vulnerability. So then you become like achievement becomes validation.
Mm-hmm.
Being needed becomes your identity.
Mm-hmm.
Overworking becomes self-worth. Rest started feeling uncomfortable. Love became connected to performance. So these are things that we have to ask ourselves and be aware of and in the moment. Because when you are aware and in the moment, you get to know yourself better.
Yeah.
Your highs, your lows, your okay. So Tasha has a statement here. He said, you know what, now that I'm older, the more I have learned that our parents didn't have the tools to teach us what we know now. They were learning how to adjust and raise their children to the best of their abilities. When are now our parents with kids, or we're now parents with kids, and we have a better understanding of how to raise our kids because we have a lot more knowledge on how we should teach them and how to raise them. Oh, that's an excellent point, because it goes back to, we're not here to blame or bash our parents, but we're here to acknowledge them and lift them up, because you can't blame your parents for something that they didn't know. And that's another place where forgiveness comes in as well. And just a harmonious energy to help bring that healing to the family and reunite, because that's what needs to happen. Heal those old wounds and let's come. I'm the kumbaya, like, yeah, some people probably look at it as flighty, delusional, but I believe it's possible.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, you gotta have that role in the family. I mean, you gotta have everyone. I mean, when you're building a basketball team, you're not gonna go recruit the same player. I'm not gonna have a team full of the same player. We're not gonna be very good. I've got to build a team that has different roles and different people to play those roles, and the family is no different. When you create an organization, everybody ain't gonna be customer service. You gotta have a CEO, you
Right.
gotta have CFO, you gotta have maintenance, you gotta have. I mean, you gotta have all these different roles, and so at the end of the day, I mean, we as a capable family that wants to do something positive, you have to have those roles, and people have to understand who they are in the family and what their roles are. And for example, my dad is one of 12, like I said, and they were all musicians. Well, they started a band, Casey Express. Well, my we had several drummers in the family, and so my dad was a
Mhm.
drummer. Well, we already had a drummer, but and we had a guitar player, we had a bass player. So he had to learn how to play piano if he wanted to be in the band, and he learned piano on his own. Like he learned by ear, and so
Mhm.
he figured out how to learn the piano to be in the band. So um everybody has a role, and what is your role? If you watch the Jacksons, everybody had a role.
Right.
Everybody can't be Michael.
That's a
you
perfect
know
example.
you
That's
know
a
everybody
perfect example. Right.
everybody want to be Michael. Everybody can't be Michael you know
That's not gonna
and
work.
yeah, and Joe. only did what Joe know what how to do, and I give Joe a lot of credit because they're not the Jacksons. If Joe doesn't be who Joe Jackson was, he had a vision. Serena Williams'
Come on.
daddy. They're not Serena Williams. You don't have the Williams sisters if you don't have their daddy in the role that he played, and you might not like it. They might have gone through some trauma. Yeah, think about the trauma that Joe went through in Gary, Indiana.
Come on. Come on.
To get his family out of that, to have the
Right.
foresight to say, "Hey, this is we not gonna be here for very long." And you like at the end of the day, I know he created one of the most gifted musicians in the world.
Yes, he did.
I think that's what people forget. He created one of the most talented families to ever walk the face of this earth.
And did.
So, I mean, I just everyone has a role. Now,
That's
could
good.
I mean, could he have fixed some things? And we don't know the whole story because I mean, we're not in their family.
Right.
We don't know what you know. We don't know what healing happened, didn't happen. We can't speculate, but at the same time, this man created this family, but also the dynamic is like that they had in their family is like no other family, but they lived a life like no other, like no normal family. I mean, they had a son that was, I mean, people would just cry in his presence, like when they see him. But they also had a son who liked llamas,
Right.
who talked to monkeys. You know what I'm saying?
Come
Like,
on.
so as an adult, as a parent, how do I navigate and understand that we've never been like only time we see them kind of animals is in the zoo.
Right.
That
Period. Right.
I mean,
Right.
we have to look at that. And but one of the things you mentioned uh about healing, and you said those things, but that we have to set those boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
We have to set boundaries for that. They have to set boundaries. You talked about them not getting rest. They have to get that rest, and not just sleep. That rest of being like when you walk into your home is your resting place. It's your peace. It ain't just where you sleep. It's where you can unwind and let go, and hopefully you have a spouse that can help you. And if you don't, how do you do things in that environment that creates peace for you, whether it's a hot bath, whether it's reading, whether it's whatever, you know, routine, AM, PM routine that you have, or whatever routine you have when you come home. You have to create that. You have to rediscover your identity in some of those things,
Absolutely.
and some new things. You know, you have to allow for softness.
Yes, yes.
You
And
know,
I have some hard questions for you guys tonight. Just right, real before we wrap this up, I want you guys to listen to these questions. Pay attention to be present in your body and feel this. I want you to feel every word when I ask these questions. These are some hard questions that to grow on. Who are you when nobody needs you?
mhm,
Who are you when nobody needs you? Can you receive without earning it?
mm,
Do you know how to rest without guilt? Do you believe people can love you beyond what you provide? Because healing starts when performance stops being your identity. My firstborns, my only children, everybody in the office. And I just want to thank my mother too for sending me that video about firstborn. But he was talking about firstborn daughters. But as I began to like look further into it, they were speaking to firstborn daughters having the strength of 100 men. But I would include that to be the firstborn. the only children, because we carry a resilience, and that's why we're chosen of God. Firstborn. Who else was firstborn? Jesus was the firstborn. So there is a mantle that we carry that we must have to make sure that we are incorporating into our identity as we begin to understand who we fully are.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to cut you off, Dr. Cube. I wanted to
No, no, and keep.
slide that in.
Yeah, yeah. Let it lead you.
Okay.
Let it lead you.
Um,
But no, you're exactly right. Learning emotional honesty in that, and all those questions. Um, and us asking ourselves those questions and being truly honest with ourselves in answering those questions. And sometimes that's the hard part too. Like
yeah,
we get we get used to lying to ourselves, and I hate
right.
saying it that way, but we
It's
get
the
used to
truth.
lying to ourselves because, like you said, I think you made that comment easier. It's easier to deal with than the truth, and so you know. But one of the biggest things you said is, basically, when you're not, can I receive without feeling like I've earned it, like I have to do something to earn it, like that right there is huge. Like yeah, that can preach the sermon right there. But that so many people feel like they have to earn somebody's love in some type of form or fashion, and and I'm probably guilty of that because I feel like and we can talk about this in men, you know, um, what validates us to feel worthiness, and
Mm,
we can say that as an only child, but I'm speaking from a man's perspective right now, and that might be something we can, one of the topics that we was talking about earlier, but what
right.
validates us as men is so different, and what you might be thinking or what I'm thinking are two totally different things, and I'm feeling like I'm not loved, and you're thinking you're giving me in so many different ways. But yeah, those things of processing, like, and perspective and being clear, but that's where we have to truly talk to ourselves and tell ourselves the right things and not listen to that enemy that's in the back of our head that wants to feed us lies and false information and confusion. And so I think we jump into spiritually. That's where I think a lot of confusion in families come from, because we assume that something is happening that possibly really is not. And and I'm talking to myself more than probably anybody else on the air. But at the end of the day, like, those are some things that we have to look at as well when we talk about the spiritual principalities that come into that that fight, because the devil does not want the firstborn to take his role, if we want to be honest.
Right. Talk about it. You It's a
He doesn't.
powerful position.
It's a
It's a
powerful position. I mean, and he does not want you to take your rightful position. So we
right.
we have to be careful on those things, as well. Healing is realizing you were worthy of love before you became useful, and I think
Ooh.
that's what you just said. It binds up to
Ooh.
what you just said, and so, um, we are worthy,
Yes.
in any position in this matriarch that we have. Uh, we are worthy, and I think that we have to take that away more than anything. Like, our worth, our worth,
Yes.
our worth
Yes.
is so much more, uh, and our worth is our responsibility to protect, and our worth is the identity, right? Is the identity that God has given us.
Yes.
Not someone
Yes.
else, not someone else. God has given us this amazing worth that we take for granted because we think we're not worthy of anything. But it's our responsibility to protect our worth, but it's also understanding that God has given you an identity in worth. Like you are abundant in all
Yes.
that you speak, you know? Um, so I just if I have to end on anything, I'm gonna end on that you deserve to be who you're supposed to be and you deserve to be worth whatever it is that you want that to be. And you God says you can speak to the heavens of what you want to be. And so I pray that you protect your worth and you protect your identity because God has given you those things.
Yes. And you know what? I just want to, it's funny, but it's not funny. But don't compare. Comparison is the thief of all joy. Like we can't, like Dr. Q mentioned earlier, we can't all be Michael, right?
Mm-mm.
You can't look at somebody else and say, oh, they sing so good and you can't sing at all. So that makes you, no, maybe she can sing, but your personality lights up a room. You can hold a conversation.
Nation. Yeah. Oh,
You
you can
know what I'm
hold a
saying?
room.
Like, right, right.
Too.
Like, so we gotta be solid in who we are and accept it.
Man,
Like
somebody
walk in it in powerfully. Like you are fearfully and wonderfully made.
made. Yeah, somebody gotta run the sound system because she gotta have a microphone if everybody gonna hear. Like everybody has a role, everybody has a
Right.
job, and you just have to find what yours is and own it.
Yes, absolutely. We're gonna, guys, we're gonna go in prayer here. We're gonna close out in prayer. Father, heal the people who had to mature too quickly. Heal the sons and daughters who carried adult burdens with child-sized hearts. We break the lie tonight that their value only exists in what they produce. They are worthy even when resting. They are worthy even when healing. They are worthy even when they say no, because it is a complete sentence. We release survival mode,
Yeah.
we release fear based strength, we release emotional exhaustion, and we receive peace, identity, and wholeness in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
All right, y'all. Tonight we if this touched you, don't leave quietly. Share this live, tag another firstborn or only child. Subscribe to the channel. Send us your testimony. DM us if you need prayer, because we're here for you. Being the strong one kept you alive, but healing will finally teach you how to live. And just because responsibility shaped you doesn't mean pressure has to define you forever. Your ashes are not your ending, baby. Good night, family.